Hi guys, it's Zach and I'm back again with another video. So today I figured I would just kind of respond to some questions that I got on some of my videos that I've been doing over the past few weeks and kind of give a little bit of a, sort of update on what is going to end up happening with this channel, where we're going to go for the future. So let's start by answering some questions. So I got a question from a man named Victor who had a few things he wanted to talk about. Automation was one, and he wants to know if automation is accessible, and the answer is kind of yes and no on that one. I don't have a ton of experience with automation, but from what I understand, you are able to create automation and you are able to edit it to a degree. I think there's like an automation event list that you can get into. That's what I've heard. I haven't had much success with doing that, but I will keep trying, and if I figure something out, I will let you guys know and make a video on it. And then also, I got another question from someone else asking if flex pitch is accessible, and for that matter, flex time, because they're part is the same feature. And unfortunately, as of right now, it's not very usable. You can do some things like enter notes in with a MIDI keyboard, but it's very finicky and is not the best method if you want a ton of control. I believe Apple is working on correcting this. They are certainly aware of it. It's been pointed out, and I made an earlier video talking about the Logic 10.5 update and how we're now getting a lot more communication from the product manager on accessibility. And this has been pointed out to him, and so I'm pretty sure that they are figuring that out. It's probably going to take some time because flex pitch and flex time are very complex things, and up until this point, we haven't had any, as far as I know, accessibility to any sort of manual pitch correcting plugin. Melodyne certainly isn't accessible without some customization that only works on Windows. And there is nothing that I'm aware of that lets you do manual pitch correction accessibly. But it certainly can be done, and I think Apple are going to be the ones to do it, hopefully. So I will keep you guys posted on that if they indeed get that figured out, which I'm sure they will. You guys will be the first to hear about it from me on this channel. So yeah, that'll be great. And so let's see, what else do we have? I got another question asking about Apple loops, and this guy was having some problems with pasting Apple loops from the loop browser after doing some editing, and he was using Logic 10.4.8, and I have also had this issue, not only with Apple loops, but with like other audio files. This unfortunately has been a very long-standing bug. It was really bad in, I believe it was 10.4.5. They had a lot of accessibility problems. I remember calling Apple and being on the phone with them for a very long time, having to do multiple phone calls, doing some screen recordings for them. And then the next update, which they released, I think maybe a few weeks later, all of that stuff for the most part was fixed, which was really, really, really awesome to see. And one of those things was some of that copying issue. There were some other issues with copying stuff, but this has been a long-standing Logic bug that they should fix for copying loops. The only way, actually, well, there's another way to kind of solve this without needing to quit Logic. He was saying that he had to quit Logic completely, and you don't necessarily have to. What you can do, this is a workaround, is if you make a new track, like a blank track, I believe, I've done a software instrument and that's worked. I don't know if audio will work, but a software instrument will work. Then you go to that track, so you select it in the tracks area where you have all your tracks with the mute and solo and volume and pan. You select that track and then just hit copy, do Command C as if you're copying something. That will effectively clear the clipboard. So when you paste something in, it's not going to try and paste something that was previously there. It's going to actually paste whatever you copied. That's the only way I've found to work around this. I will test it in the latest Logic update. I don't currently have it installed on my machine. I never updated to 10.5.1, which is an update that came out a few weeks ago. I'll do a video on that soon. there are a few accessibility changes that I think are important to be aware of. I will test it there and see if that bug is still present. If it is, I will respond to your comment and just let you know. But for anyone who's having this issue, that's why. Because this is a bug that needs to be fixed. And this happens too with files copied from like the Finder. If you have a loop pack or a sample pack that you've gotten externally and you want to put it into Logic, you can copy it, but then it's unreliable. So what I found works is to actually use the import audio dialog, which is Command-Shift-I. So basically you make a new audio track, and then you do Command-Shift-I, you move the playhead to where you want the audio file to be pasted in. Of course, you can move it later if you want. And then you do Command-Shift-I, you select the file in the standard, open file dialog kind of thing, and then you just hit return. And it will paste it in at the current playhead position. And the upside of doing that, actually, is you can do the import file, the audio file command multiple times, and it will import onto the same track. So if you have like a guitar library with a ton of different guitars, and you want the guitars to all be on the same track because maybe they're variations of each other, you can do that really easily. If anyone would like, I'll do a demo of how that works because it might be a bit confusing just hearing me talk about it. I understand that maybe demoing it might be easier, so let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in. I'll gladly do a demo on it. Another question I got from someone who I mentioned earlier on, I believe Victor, he also asked about providing feedback to the Logic team, to Apple, to improve Logic. And there are a few ways to do this. I honestly don't know which one is the best because we have many options at this point, so it's kind of complicated for me to tell you, definitively which one is the 100% best way to do it. But I would maybe recommend trying a few and seeing, what kind of response you get. So I would say maybe my most recommended option would be to use the provide feedback option in the Logic Pro menu. In the Logic menu where you have your preferences and the ability to download more sounds, there's a provide feedback option, and if you click on that, it will open up Safari or whatever default browser you have, and it will ask you a series of questions. So I did this like once, basically your name, I believe your email address in case they need to contact you with more info, what kind of problem you're having, or if you have a feature request, stuff like that. As far as I am aware, that goes directly to the engineers. This is what I have seen online. I'm not 100% sure if that's true, but as far as I know, that feedback goes directly to the people who are developing Logic. So I would say if you have accessibility concerns, that is the best resource you can use for addressing accessibility concerns. I'll talk about a few others. Another one that's really good is David Earl. He's the product manager, and he posted on a website called appleviz.com. I linked it in a previous video, in the Logic 10.5 video, the major update. I linked to a webpage that a forum post that he posted on AppleViz's website. His direct email is there. So even higher up than the provide Logic feedback menu that's going directly to the engineers, this guy is the product manager, and he takes accessibility very seriously. So I honestly don't know which is the best. I would say maybe like 99% of the time I would go with the provide Logic feedback option, and then for cases where maybe you need to provide a little more info or you need to have more of a discussion, maybe email David Earl. I would not say email him for every single issue that you encounter because I don't want to don't clutter up his inbox with stuff. But definitely his email is out there for people that want to email. I don't discourage that. I would just say obviously have some common sense. Make sure that you're not sending him like 10 emails. I know no one would do that, but also too, another option for contacting him. This is what most people seem to be doing, although I'm not totally sure. But just leaving a comment on the AppleViz website is another good way to get into contact with him. He's reading those and responding to them. That might be a better way than just emailing him directly. If you have something kind of small that you just need fixed, or if you have a request, that's easier because he doesn't have to keep up with that. It just updates, and people can come back. Like, this is what app developers do. If they post something on AppleViz, they'll come back periodically and check. That's probably a better way to do it, just for, you know, like issues that don't need a ton of explanation and demos and stuff like that. I would say maybe just do the comments or do the Logic Pro feedback method, although they may ask you for more info. In my case, when I did it for the 10.4.5 update with all the accessibility issues that it had, I actually called Apple directly, and I can't remember, I may have called the accessibility line, but I think I got transferred to the Logic team, and they asked for a ton of info, and I gave that to them. So actually, this is a great segue. So accessibility, Apple Accessibility, which is accessibility@apple.com, and they also have a phone number that will change depending on what country you live in. I've seen on a lot of forums, this was a while ago, I think people have realized that this is maybe not the best option, but I just want to stress again, do not contact them if your issue does not have to do with accessibility technology. VoiceOver, Zoom, like assistive touch for people with motor issues, you know, anything that's in the accessibility menu and settings on like macOS, like system preferences on macOS, or settings on iOS or iPadOS, don't contact them for that, because they are not developing that software, and they will try and like submit it to the engineers, but it's not the best way to go, because they are primarily focused on like VoiceOver and Zoom and all that kind of stuff. So if you have an issue with VoiceOver, if you want like something to be added, if you think something, you know, should be included in VoiceOver, yeah, contact them, because they're the ones who are dealing with that. Or if you have a question on how to do something with VoiceOver, they can help with Logic sometimes. If it's like a visual issue, like if you're wondering, okay, if I'm using VoiceOver, like, why can't I access this? Some people have emailed them for that, and they've been able to kind of help, but I would say for the most part, contact the Logic team, because they're the ones who are actually developing Logic, and this is what I've been told by people at Apple as well, so it's not just me making this stuff up. They are the ones developing Logic, they're the ones who are doing the accessibility, so I would say just contact the Logic team if you have accessibility concerns. So I hope that answered your question. That was much more detailed than I was expecting, but I hope that that has definitively answered your question and sort of my takes on who you should contact. So yeah, I believe that's all the questions that were asked. If you guys have any more, please leave them in the comments and I will respond to them or make a follow-up video. Let me know if you like this format better. I really want some engagement on this channel, so let me know if you like this format or if you want me to just reply to your comments. I may just reply anyway, just for ease and all that. So now let's move on to kind of what I'm thinking for the future of this channel. So, first off, the part 2 video for Drummer is still coming. That's still planned. I'm going to probably be doing that within the next couple of days. And then aside from that, I also have I'm going to do a part 2 for live loops, kind of a little more definitive kind of thing on maybe using it to make a project. That might be kind of cool. I want to definitely do some more like making a song in this style of videos, because I see that on YouTube a lot, but of course it's from a sighted perspective, and there aren't really like, there are some, but there aren't a ton of like 2-hour-long videos of someone just making a song from start to finish. And I know that could be boring for some people, but I think for others it would actually be really helpful to kind of figure out, okay, so like, ooh, this style has this, and this is what you need to do to get this sound. And for someone using VoiceOver, it's kind of difficult to tell what people are doing in those videos, so I think it'd be cool for me to kind of do that. And I'm not saying I'm like an expert on every genre or anything like that, but I can give it my best shot, and we can learn together. So if you guys have any tips on production or things that, you know, could improve, definitely leave those in the comments as well, and I'll take that on. So that I'm thinking would be kind of a cool thing to do. Let's see, what else? I'm thinking of also doing maybe some like mobile videos where we do GarageBand on iOS, because there is no Logic on iOS, which is sad, but that might change at some point. There's some rumors going around that Apple might be working on their pro apps like Final Cut and Logic and maybe MainStage, which is a live music production type deal. It's not production, but it helps you to set up, like if you're playing live, MainStage is cool. It helps you to set up all your kind of live sets, and you can have different sounds for each song, and yeah, there's a lot of other stuff going on there. I don't have it, so I can't really demo that for you at the moment, but if you guys are interested in maybe seeing a demo, I would not be averse to maybe acquiring that. It's only $30, so it's not too expensive, and maybe giving that a demo if you guys want, or giving a demo of that if you guys want. Actually, another thing about MainStage too, I'll mention real quick, is it's a really good way to get a taste of what the Logic sounds are like without needing to spend $200, because MainStage comes with all the same content that Logic does. Yeah, it comes, as far as I know, it comes with everything that Logic does, at least until 10.4. I don't know about 10.5. I don't believe it has been updated yet, so I'm not sure, but I know going till like 10.4, which is most of it, it comes with a lot of content. So if you want to get a taste of kind of what Logic, like what the stock sounds are like, I would say get MainStage and just give that a shot and see if you like it. It's only $30, so it's not too bad. If you don't want to pay for anything, there's also a 90-day trial of Logic available that just came out a few months ago. I think it was in response to this whole COVID situation we are all finding ourselves in right now. So it's 3 months. I think I may have mentioned this before, but let's just reiterate here. 3 months of Logic for free. That's pretty awesome. And if you like it, after 3 months, you can buy it. And that comes with all of the same sound content that the full app comes with. So you're not missing out on anything, which is really cool. Yeah, I was thinking maybe doing some mobile sort of GarageBand for iOS videos, because I don't see a lot of like even podcasts about it on sites like Apple Viz that I've mentioned like 5 minutes ago. They don't really do a ton with music production on that website. It's mainly focused on the software, so iOS, macOS, VoiceOver. They don't really talk about creation a ton. It's really a lot of kind of news apps and documents and text editing. This is sort of just my opinion here, but I don't really like Apple Viz all that much. I do find some of the content sort of informative, but for the most part, I get, in terms of news for Apple stuff, I mainly get my news from like, say, Mac Rumors or Twitter or like 9to5Mac, places like that, because I find that it's much more current. And maybe I'll make another video on this if you guys are interested to hear my takes on Apple Viz, because I know it's a very popular website in the blindness community. So if you guys are interested to hear my thoughts, let me know. I don't really think a lot of people have sort of spoken about Apple Viz, and I have some opinions on that. So if you want to watch me talk about that for 20 minutes, let me know and I'll do a video. But check it out for sure. I think it's a great site. I love what they're doing. I just think some of the content is a bit samey. It really kind of, there isn't a ton of variety is what I'm trying to say. A lot of it is people asking questions about like different games and stuff, which is totally fine. That's, there's nothing wrong with doing that. There just aren't a lot of people who are like doing things with music production on there, for example. But for some things, it's awesome. I love their release notes for when iOS comes out with a new update, or macOS, or these other platforms. They do really in-depth accessibility testing, especially for like major releases. So iOS 14, it's coming out in September, and also WWDC, for people that know what that is in actually a day as of the time of this recording. That's exciting. We're gonna have some fun. WWDC is a conference that Apple holds every June, for the most part, that highlights the new features coming to like iOS 14 and the new next version of Mac OS and tvOS and all this other software. And it's mainly aimed at developers so that they are able to get all their apps ready for the new software. But they have a keynote, which is a presentation, all at the beginning of the week, at the beginning of the conference, for everybody. And it's mostly aimed at developers, as I've said, but they talk about all of the new features that are coming in the latest software, and sometimes there's hardware too. So like they introduced the HomePod, which is a speaker that Apple develops a few years ago. They've had some Mac launches. They've even had some iPhone launches there too, and it's really, really, really cool. It's always a very exciting time when WWDC comes around. So, yeah, Apple Viz is great. I think they are good. I just think some of the content, it could use a little more variety, is all I'm saying. But hey, there are websites out there, like Mac Rumors, for example, too, that mainly only focus on, like, Apple news, and they don't really delve deep into, say, like, how-tos or, like, reviews of different apps, because that's really not their focus. I just think Apple Viz maybe should expand a little bit because, it would be really awesome to see more like app reviews, for example, on there, in-depth reviews. They do have an app directory, which shows like, say, apps varying on their level of accessibility, but a lot of it is just, oh, this app is accessible. They don't really give a ton of, they don't give a ton of thoughts, depending on who contributed the app, because anybody can, as long as they have an account. But they don't really give a ton of thoughts on, say, okay, I like this app because it does this really, really well. Some people do, and that's really awesome, but I'd just like to see more of that. But anyway, that's a completely different topic for another day. So anyway, yeah, Apple Viz is a great resource. But yeah, so I was thinking doing like some videos on like GarageBand for iOS, because again, I don't see a lot of that. And with this latest Logic update, actually, they've introduced almost all of the features that GarageBand has into Logic. There are a few things that GarageBand can do that Logic can't, but for the most part, it's much more sort of coherent across the different platforms, which is awesome to see. The only one that's missing is GarageBand for desktop, which does not have a lot of the features that the iOS version has, but they'll probably fix that soon. But yeah, GarageBand for iOS is super, super cool. I think a lot of people sort of don't give it credit, but it really helps to sort of democratize music creation because it's free as long as you have an iPhone or iPad or iPod Touch. And it gets updated constantly with new sounds. Like, they have new sound packs every few months. Logic users, like, we're finally getting those now after, like, 2 years. It'll remain to be seen if they get updated on the same schedule. We'll have to see. But they do update that sound library in GarageBand every couple of months with new sound packs and tons of different styles and lots of cool stuff. So, yeah, I'm thinking of maybe doing a few videos on that because I think that would be really helpful, especially for people that are just getting started in this and they don't really know where to start. I think GarageBand, if you have an iPhone or an iPad or an iPod Touch, is a really, really, really good place to get started. So yeah, I'm gonna probably do some videos on that. Let me know again in the comments below if that's what you want to see. And other than that, I'm just gonna kind of figure out some other topics to share, and anything that I come across that I think will be interesting, I will share with you guys. Oh, also too, I just remembered, there was another comment asking about V.O.C.R, which is a plugin developed by a guy named Chi Kim, who actually I know. I go to Berklee College of Music here in Boston, and he is one of the professors there, and I have classes with him. He's a really cool guy, and he does a lot of cool kind of stuff with programming, and he made this app called V.O.C.R, and what V.O.C.R is able to do is scan the screen for text that is in an image. So if it's a graphic that has text in it, it's able to scan the graphic, and then it lets you navigate the text with some keyboard commands. And it's really useful for navigating a few plugins that aren't accessible with VoiceOver because it can see a ton of elements that might be hidden to VoiceOver. So you can use a plugin even if it hasn't really been coded for accessibility very well. Sometimes. Not all the time. It's not an excuse for developers to not make their stuff accessible, but in a pinch, or if you really want to use something and it doesn't work, this is a great way to get started. I will do a video soon talking about that. I'll show the process of getting it set up because it's a little complicated, but once you have it going, it's really, really easy to use. So I'll do a video on that as well. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to cover for today. I'm just really, really, really grateful for all the support that everyone has been showing to this channel. My views have gone up a lot since the first Logic video. I've also been posting my videos on Facebook and Twitter, like links to the YouTube videos on there. So I think that may have also helped to try and kind of expand a little bit the audience. But I'm really, really excited with where this is going. I hope that we can continue to grow, and please, please, please keep leaving your thoughts in the comments. I really want your feedback. I want to know what is working, what isn't working for you, what I could change to make things better or more clear or anything like that. Please let me know because I want your feedback and I want to listen and improve. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you within the next few days for part 2 of the drummer tutorial, and that's going to be very exciting. I was just playing with the producer kits a few days ago, and some of the stuff you're able to do is really, really cool. You have a lot more control than what I showed you in part 1. So just take part 1 and think of it as like a huge preview for what's coming in part 2 because it's going to be awesome. So I'm really pumped. I hope you guys have an awesome, awesome rest of your day. If anyone is going to be watching the WWDC keynote, which is on Apple's website for anyone who's interested, let me know in the comments and let me know what you think after you've watched it, and I will maybe make a video on my thoughts of that as well. So yeah, I'm excited. Let's keep going. Let's keep growing this channel, and I hope you guys have an awesome day. I will see you guys soon.